There we go. Caught myself early on YouTube, Facebook Live. I was just muted for the first 30 seconds. My apologies. Just noted that right now. I was introducing all of our students. Moved right over to social media here on StreamYard. Noticed the mistake early. I got it quick. Great to see everybody, though. And without further ado, let's hop right into the GNOG trade. Golden Nugget. The only time I've seen Golden Nugget, I mean, I've only been to Vegas once, and I've been to Atlantic City here on the East Coast a few times, and they've been a very outdated, run-out hotel casino, at least in Atlantic City. A bunch of different casino hotels have kind of taken over that scene. But, altogether since, we've seen GNOG, the news come out this morning. DraftKings ended up acquiring them. I think it was a $1.56 billion transaction. Pretty cool note. I just want to bring this up quick. I found this, I guess good timing, a good call from Benzinga, perhaps. So let me bring this up here pretty quickly. As we typically know with most buyouts, at least those that are listed right or those announced right at the per share price, it's going to flatten out and be a very tight trade, really untradeable. For what it's worth, this GNOG stock has had a nice push to it at least once in the morning and now taking us into the afternoon. So perhaps I will come back to this trade by the end of this meeting and add it on our list. It was definitely a good call from Norman at the time. It looks like from Bill also following up inside our trading room said previously, the GNOG and DraftKings CEOs, both of them, just ended an interview now on CNBC. So perhaps that led to that short little squeeze up. I want to bring this up here though pretty quick. It's cool to look into certain news reports at least when it's the proper time. And what I mean by that is at least over the weekend, early in the morning when you're not trading. So we saw this stock pop up in pre-market and we found out there was a buyout. Check this out from Thursday, August 5th. Right? You can see right here, Benzinga will post these articles every now and then. 3 sports betting stocks that could get bought out next. Pretty interesting, right? And they ended up listing Golden Nugget as one of them. Golden Nugget has a market cap of under $1 billion and holds access for sports betting and online gaming for several states. And then they ended up listing more info for that. They ended up reporting also, they said the stock GAN Limited could be an acquisition target thanks to its strong tech platform acting as the thing behind the thing for sports betting. So this comes in lieu of Penn National Gaming, Barstool Sports acquiring Canadian company, The Score, big digital sports media company. So that led to that little article out from Benzinga, and lo and behold, they were actually right on that. They ended up seeing the GNOG trade get bought out early this morning, pushing up still right now as I speak. So maybe I do just slip this on the main list to begin. If you've been following me here in these afternoon meetings, whether day to day or perhaps just week to week, I'll be getting to Bitcoin at some point today, right? I mean, that's been the focus of the whole day. Not to say Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin affiliated stocks, right? FTFT, the ANY stock, Canon, Riot, Mara. So, let me jump to those first, at least the stocks. I'll cover Bitcoin by the end of it, show the real chart and go through my thoughts, at least on Bitcoin itself. But with that, we ended up seeing over the weekend squeeze with Bitcoin, a lot of stocks ended up getting pumped up early in pre-market. This, as you could see, was not one of the better plays, at least after the open. But BTCM was one that was very active early on. Hey, it was trending down leading into the open. So, for all of our students that are a part of our classes beginning in phase 1, then throughout phase 2 and phase 3 with Fausto, you'll hear us talk about it. Follow the trend. The trend is your friend. And, it's a silly line, but you can't go against the trend. This stock ended up only dropping off after the market opened up. A lot of those stocks did pull back at first. It's just to say, though, that this one never really made its bounce back up, or at least a slingshot back up. I guess it made a bounce right around 720-ish, 725, and from there ended up kind of flattening out since. But this was one that was pretty active early on. We ended up trading and doing pretty well in the ANY stock. This one ended up making a much better pop and slingshot throughout the mid-morning heading into the afternoon. And as you can see now, it's getting a squeeze back up. Really the level that I want to go over, and we'll probably do this tomorrow a lot more in-depth in our Traders Talk workshop. I wish I could say I'm in this stock. I am not. I'm in 2 other positions right now, which I will get to. One of them, as you can imagine, really soon. But the ANY stock, I wish I could tell you that I'm in from 575. Ended up shaking me out on the last position. I ended up taking a scratch trade, and then it moved up without me. I was in this stock earlier, though. It was a great trade from 530-ish, but really once it broke over, the opening bell print price right at 575, had a lot of buying off that level after the market opened up as well. You'd like to think it's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. You still set your stops and do everything you need to do, But the stock ended up exploding right off the 575 level, ended up topping off right around 658, the high. And as you could see, that exact price ended up holding really well as support just now. So let me ask, out of curiosity, any one of us here inside the trading room, inside the A and Y trade now, in long? We're talking about a few stocks at least prior to this meeting started. So I don't know if anyone jumped in time off the 575 or perhaps off a 6. John says, not me. That's all right. Just asking out of curiosity there. That's all. Well, hopefully it gives us a lot more left heading into the afternoon. I mean, it's a nice squeeze so far. So I'll put it on our list to begin. If it ends up completely dying off, even by the end of this meeting, maybe I will bump it off. But for right now, it looks pretty strong. Looks pretty good. All right, so another crypto miner, Canon, right? Like the photography company, Canon, that's right. So, stock, we've been following this really heavily with the Riot and Mara trades over the last year and a half. Really, as you could see from beginning of 2021, ended up squeezing and exploding up to like 35, 40 bucks nearly and came back down. So, that's what makes it a great opportunity. Why can't this stock make a fraction of the type of run that it made in the beginning of the year? And you know me, I mean, I'm a big believer in Bitcoin, so why not even more? Now, I'm not swing trading these stocks. I'm in crypto as an investment, but it's to say on Canon, I'm in this position right now. I'm in right from 990. I was in from 975 or 973 just earlier and took a 15-cent profit. Then I ended up just jumping in before as it started to build up some support. Here's the thing, and I'll talk about this, of course, at the end, but, on days where Bitcoin, good or bad, is moving, quite quickly, very volatile, then you got to keep your eye on Bitcoin, the 1 minute chart, at least, for Bitcoin, if you're trying to follow some of the other Bitcoin miners out there, Canon, Riot, Mara. So, it seems like Riot and Mara are pretty strong to their highs right now heading into the afternoon. At least Riot is, Mara not as much. Hopefully, at least for my Canon trade, we get a nice squeeze up. I got my stop set on the Canon trade at least. I'm in that position from 990. I'm not as likely to put it on our main list for the afternoon, given that it's pretty flat right now. I mean, I hope it goes up for my sake, but if the grass is just going to grow on this stock and that's it, I don't want to bore you folks with it. So, we'll see if there's any better crypto miners out for the afternoon, perhaps like the A and Y stock, right? There's one right now that's moving up pretty not quickly, but pretty steadily, the FTFT stock. So this is another one, future fintech that we traded back in the beginning of the year, pulled back. This stock I'm also in. This is the second position that I am in. This one I am a little bit more keen to put on our watch list, given that the high of the day so far is just at 361. Has a lot of pre-market activity to it, but the high of the regular session is at 361. It's there right now. So my price on this stock, I'm in at 344. Much larger position, you could imagine, just given the price of the stock. But Canon, I'm in on a normal share size. This I'm on 3x, and I have my stop set on this if it ends up crapping out. I'm watching both on a separate monitor, mind you. So at least for this one right now, the future fintech trade, given where it's at right now, I'll definitely put on our list. Canon actually is starting to pop off 10 right now as we speak. It's at 10:08, 10:09 since we last left it. But this one definitely I'll be more keen to put on our list. All right. So for any of the other Bitcoin related stocks, we will get back to those at the end. And if I need to get out of this position during this meeting, I will certainly let you folks know. We have a big resistance right now. It's at 360. So if it breaks this order on the ask at 360, this FTFT trade, then perhaps we can get the move that I was really looking for earlier on it. All right. So, I mean, hey, we have 3 stocks on our list already. So what we'll do is go from top to bottom now. For any of the others that we ended up trading in the morning otherwise, we'll at least go over them. There's not a whole lot. I mean, there's some to go over on this WPG trade. I wish I could say that we had called it out in time. We weren't really trading this stock going into the afternoon. And if anyone did, I guess I missed the call out. But stock ended up making a huge pop from seemingly 135, broke out over resistance and took off, made a 50+ cent move up, right? So, nice squeeze up. Washington Prime Group. I don't know what the news is. Never seen the stock really before. Maybe I have, dating back to like Mayish, June time here. I don't really remember it as much. But given the daily chart, perhaps there could be more to this trade. It hasn't totally dumped off yet. So I'll put this on our list for right now. WPG, good spread, good liquidity on the book. We got a couple of us inside Cyber Group right now saying Bitcoin finally broke over 46,000. David says Bitcoin looks like it's about to break out of the ascending triangle it's in on the hourly. And then Norman on the GNOG trade just now. I'm catching back with the chat here really quick. On the GNOG trade, he locked in 18-cent profit just now. So he was in from 1851. Excellent. Cannon's popping up to 1015 right now. Maybe I put Cannon back on our list here at this point. We'll see. Now, this is how a true buyout should look, by the way. GNOG had some movement to it. It's interesting that they didn't really list the per share transaction of the buyout. I know there was a little extra snippet there with people who own people who own the GNOG shares before the buyout. There's some little thing with that. But otherwise, this is how a buyout typically looks once the news is announced. So, GNOG kind of doing the rare move up right now, at least. LMNL, not a whole lot happening there. I think I'm going to put Cannon on our list now at this point. ADGI, nice squeeze up for this stock, up 27+%. New IPO, it seems like, as well. Very thin order book and spread out. So just because it's at the highs of the day, it's trading 1.2 million shares. It's kind of within our price range at least. You'd think that that's good enough to put on our watch list, but the spread is so crappy and the order book is like completely blank, just a few shares here and there. So if it's very difficult to read, then it's more of a gamble than a calculated decision, right? Well, we were talking about GNOG Golden Nugget, but I'm not here to gamble today, right? I'm never really here to gamble. So, at least for right now, I'll pass over this. Ooh, cheapy CXDC again. Wow. Stock back from Wednesday or Tuesday, even last week it was, I believe. Ended up making this ridiculous pop from like 30 cents up to $1. Ended up squeezing up over time, as you could see, dating from Thursday into Friday. And obviously now getting a pop back up to $1. So great setup, at least for this cheapy CXDC. And we'll slip this on our list too. All right. The ANY stock is still on our list. Hopefully it just doesn't crap out the complete other way. It made a really nice bounce off that 575. And if it wants to keep moving up, I would imagine 6 to be a critical support level here. Pharma or vaccine stock, not to say pharma, but I guess you can say it, but vaccine stock, AHPI. Let's check out APT also. They kind of trade side by side, or they have been recently. Both are kind of slipping off. This one's really spotty, so maybe the AHPI over the APT, but for right now, neither I'll put on our list. Nice little squeeze up here on NCTY, it looks like, though. Technically a higher low, or at least hasn't really broken lower off the 1650 support area it was building earlier, pushing back up for the meantime. Let me zoom out on the daily chart. The spread's a little big on this, but it has been over the last week and a half since we've been trading it, calling it out. So we're at least kind of used to that. It's trading about 10,000 shares per minute in terms of volume. So that's not terrible either. I'll come back to this at the end. Definitely come back to this at the end and consider it. My FTFT trade fell off a little bit. I might jump out on that trade pretty quick just to lock up a profit. I could have taken it right from 360, but I'm more hopeful to see that retest and break over 360, the FTFT trade there. BTCM, the first Bitcoin mining stock from pre-market, the one that was more of a dud than anything. I guess you could say it's building up still. Huge order on the bid. Look at that. Right off 770, 154K bid order sitting there. So, you know what? I'm just going to draw a quick line right there now just to see, come back to it at the end, see if it gets filled, if it moves off that price, pops off it, or whatnot. Just up. Maybe I don't need to. Starting to get filled right now as we speak. 19K print at least came in there. All right, we'll come back to this later on. So alongside the plug stock, and I know Fausto was talking about that a little bit after the morning meeting. We ended up finishing up the morning meeting around 9:15 Eastern time, and shortly after, we ended up noticing plug, PLUG, and we ended up calling it out after the market opened up and led to be one of our best winners on the morning. So, Plug Power and FCEL, the fuel cell batteries companies, both ended up making a nice pop and run today. Great to see, because we ended up really trading both of those stocks day over day over the last several months. FSTEL kind of fell off our radar because it just started to trade in a tighter range, become slower, and it became not really worth our time. Plug's more expensive, so perhaps that got called out a little bit more recently. But yeah, both ended up making good runs today. Definitely put them back on your side list if they're not already, and see what they do at least come tomorrow morning. All right, so that's 16+%. I lost my spot there for a second. Fausto was calling out the B-Fly trade after the market opened up today. Ended up making a really nice move up from 1080 all the way up towards 12 and change. And, ended up trying to make that pop earlier, but failed to really get going later on and pulled back. So, I don't know. I feel like it did make a nice balance. The spread is tight. The order book is pretty liquid. I'll slip it on the back end of our list here, the B-Fly stack. All right, let's see what else we got here across the gainer side. As you could see, at least the SPY ended up making a nice, small little recovery there. Going into the late morning and into the early afternoon here, just made a bit of a pop. All right, got AEHR, got VXRT. Couple other familiar names at least we'll look at quick. VXRT still looks kind of strong, making higher lows, and certainly if it could break high of the day in that 23,000 share iceberg at 990, better chance of it making the real test to the major resistance at 10. So at least for this stock being for us being pretty familiar with this stock and at least being pretty strong to its highs right now, I'll definitely put the VXRT on our list. Yeah, this looks like a good call for right now. CLSK, this actually is a Bitcoin mining affiliated stock, CleanSpark. You can see back in late December, early Jan, the news ended up coming out at that time, ended up making this big run up. For what it's worth, kind of still in a tight range here, hasn't really broken out yet. We know the stock can, so definitely keep it on the side for right now, the CLSK trade. All right, I dumped out on the FTFT trade. I got out right at 350. I ended up taking 6 cents, so I could have gotten out way better on the trade, but at least it was a larger share count, so it's just going to stack on top. The Canon trade's popping up. So the Canon stock, honestly, before I even go over to the losers list, at this point right now, since we're where we left off on Canon, CAN, I'm definitely more interested on putting that on our main list now. Told you that I was in it, and it was right around like 10:04, 10:05 at the time, and I turned away from it, and since it's only been pushing up. So I guess you folks are right there. I saw from perhaps Brian and David talking about Bitcoin popping over 46,000 and moving back up again. So yeah, for right now, I'll slip the Canon trade back on our list here too. Still in this trade. All right, so let's see what else we got though. The AXSM. Are we going to have another short here going into the afternoon? We've been pretty good as of last week with Nikola and CCL and Skills off of bad earnings. I remember that. This ASXM, I don't know what happened to this company, whether it was bad earnings or, maybe FDA denied their application on a drug. I'm not even going to care to look right now. It's just for me to say this stock is practically at the low of the day right now, right off support at 28. Let me just be exact with that, actually. Yeah, I mean, the low of the day is 27.89. I didn't know if there was any activity from like here that quantified as low of the day. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, I mean, it's practically right off the lows now. Big support at 28, you'd imagine. So, yeah, the AXSM I'll slip on here too. So now at this point, we have a decently sized list. I don't want to make this too big. I'm not expecting for there to be many stocks on the loser side here as well with the market up again today. Space at the high of the day. I just got a ping for that on Benzinga Pro. I'm going to jump ahead to that here pretty quick. Virgin Galactic at the highs. Yeah, it's up 6+%. Just got the ping now from Benzinga, like I said before, and it's on the way up to 35.50. So definitely going to focus on this one. At this point, we might have to knock a couple of the weaker ones off our list here right now. Let's see if there's anything else that's at the highs. Folks, if there's anything that you see that's up, down, left, right, more than 5%, just type it in the chat board here quickly. From Mitch, he's calling out the Sorrento trade, SRNE. That also popped up on my Benzinga Pro. I didn't mention that before, but I did see that kind of roll in beforehand, and I was going to get to this. So this looks like it ended up making a nice squeeze up here just now. News came out. Sorrento unveils overview of its multivalent mRNA COVID-19 vaccine development program. Sounds like a nice headline, but I don't think there's anything involved with that says phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, endpoints and all of that. So, definitely for right now, we'll slip this on our list. We know Sorrento has been a nice runner in the past, and hey, I mean, VXRT is on our watch list. That's also a vaccine stock, and those two have traded in the past at times. So, you know what? We'll add this too. Norman says the WORX trade is moving on up. So yeah, it's right. WORX, we ended up seeing this stock make a nice squeeze up from earlier today. And yeah, right now it's trying to get back up going. So I ended up getting out too early on this stock from 440. I could just say that now. But yeah, WORX at the high of the day. How could I not put this on our list? All right, so let me yank my own leash here. How many do we have here on our watch list so far? We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 stocks on our main list. I might have to kick 1 or 2 off really at this point because, although I put B-Fly on our watch list, unless if that's really popping at the same time as this, I saw another stock and Bill called it out in the trading room just now too. We got to look more and see what else is out there on Benzinga Pro that's at the highs. I mean, with the market up, we might have a lot more here too. B-Fly hasn't really totally dumped off. And in fact, it kind of squeezed up a couple more pennies. It'd be hard to kick this off our main list. You know what we can knock off our main list? Stock I got out on perhaps just now, the FTFT. Unfortunately, this one did not really stick too well off that 360, ended up snapping back down. So unless Bitcoin really begins to make another pop up before the end of the day, I don't expect this at least to. Perhaps Canon has a better chance of making another run back up. I'm still in on that trade as well. All right, so we'll scratch the FTFT off the list, and TIGR may as well add to our list here. So sub 1 out, add another. And I think that just about wraps it up, though. I mean, unless if there's anything else, I'll bring up Benzinga Pro right now. But, all the ones that we kind of just called out, Sorrento, the space trade, the TIGR stock, you're going to see pop up here in just a second. There's TIGR, Bill. Just taking a look here, seeing if there's any other familiar names. Got maybe an extra 5 minutes before we finish up this meeting, so you know what? I think that just about wraps it up for right now, at least. Maybe by the time I'm done with Bitcoin, maybe there'll be one more. But, really quick, I mean, Bitcoin's pushing up, as you could see. So there's not a whole lot to really talk about in terms of like worrying about another big drop off. There was some worry about the infrastructure bill and the provisions or amendments that could have been approved on for it. I know that there was a bunch of news that came out this morning. I'm not as privy to it and haven't looked into that as much. I've been more following the price action. So, we ended up seeing Bitcoin continue to move up, but I'll tell you, if there was a worry, it was to really see this buckle back underneath this trend line where we last left off on Friday afternoon, right? So where we left off on Friday afternoon was that this, Bitcoin was practically at the trend line, or it was right before the pop at least. But, I was saying to you folks, even if it breaks over this trend line, I would expect a pullback and see this come back down if there's any sort of news otherwise. Good news of a major Fortune 500 company adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet, then of course that's going to change things. But that hasn't happened yet. It's just interesting to see this still very strong now at this point. So what we'll do is at least just take a look not only on the 6-hour chart that I like to show, but also the weekly. And we'll see where the next real target could be should this continue to really pump up. So if this doesn't continue, if this doesn't pull back below the trend line and come back down towards the 100 or the 500 EMA here in orange, then perhaps we could see this begin to push up closer. I saw people talking about 47. We're practically there now. So maybe we'll kind of top off there and pull back. But if not, if this keeps going, then next one up is right at 50K, I'd say. I mean, just a fundamental level. And even if it pops above that briefly, I would expect it to have a small, tough time around there. And again, perhaps any sort of, beneficial news that can come out can, kind of rectify or make this keep going up over time. But I'm not banking on that. I'm just expecting this over time to continue to pump, just naturally. So we'll see. But otherwise, I'm expecting this to pull back down across this week here. All right, so that leaves me back to you folks here. So if there's anything otherwise here at the end, let me know. I mean, WORX is already popping. So, we don't really need to make too big of a list when we have a stock like WORX that's just still pushing up. The TIGR, as you could see, is at the high still, and hopefully there's more life to that trade still. And again, we got plenty of others here, folks. So, I'll tell you what, I think we're going to call it for right now. From Dan, the horn here, we'll say AHPI. We talked about that just before. I guess it popped up a little bit more, but pulled back. So, if that could build support, perhaps that could be a nice play here, but it's more of a level 3 to 4 stock at least, Dan. If you're very familiar with this stock and you do really well on the stock, day to day or otherwise week to week, if so, then hey, I would put it on your list. But otherwise, I think that our money is going to be made more on the WORX trade as of now. And if it's not on WORX, perhaps it'll be on plenty of the other stocks we already have on our list. So, I think I'm pretty much set for right now, folks. If there is anything else that does move, we'll look to call it out together as a team here inside the Cyber Group room. All right. So for all of us on Facebook Live, YouTube, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every day, each and every afternoon. We'll do the Bitcoin recaps, as always, on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then finally to wrap up on Fridays. All right, so we'll see what happens at least going into the week. But otherwise, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and notification icon right on our YouTube channel, that being youtube.com/cybertradingu. If you're on YouTube or Facebook Live and have yet to join us live inside our trading room, just go right down to the link on the banner below to get yourself started on a small trial. For the 90 to 100 of us there right now, stay tuned. I know that Rich will be on the mic very shortly from right now. I'll jump back on the mic right at 3:30 to wrap things up for us here heading into the market close. I'll talk to you all then. Take care.